right. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Our speaker today is actually a former SFC student. Luke Vandertie actually attended here, graduated, played baseball with my son when he was here at school. So Luke will be sharing his experiences, able to go all the way back into some similar experiences some of you may have as high schoolers, what he's done in college, and he's now in the working using the degrees he's gotten over that time. So I will hand things over to him. Don't forget you've got your notes that you'll be collecting, and then writing a short, completing that short write-up and submitting that after class. So with that, I'll hand things over to Mr. Luke Vandertie.
Perfect. Well, I get started, Mr. Riley. If you could give me screen sharing permissions.
Absolutely. Sorry about that. All right, you should have it now. And again, perfect. Please have your videos on the entire time.
So as Mr. Riley mentioned, actually, before I even get there, I want to do a quick poll ever with the group here. So if you can go into chat or into your browser, I'll put the link in the chat here. I want to hear from you all first to get an understanding of what you think, what your background. I'm going to talk about today a little bit, what you can do with a STEM or a technical background, especially non-traditional areas. But I want to get a sense from you all first of STEM gets thrown around a lot. It's the cool thing to study. It's the good thing to study. There's lots of jobs. I want to get a sense from you all of what comes to mind when you hear STEM when it comes to jobs in particular. So we'll take a minute here.
Has everyone seen the link in chat? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay.
Perfect. Science, math, yeah. Yep. Scientist, engineer, mathematician, computer programmer, really. Doctor, chemist, biologist, surgeon. Math, interesting. I like it. I like it. Interesting, heavy on the science side, yeah. What else? Technology and science, like biomedical. All right, very science. Put the S in STEM here, I like it. Let's see if we can get one more or so, and technology and science, math, science, and tech. Tech with a K, I like it. Cool. Okay, so with this in mind, let's go ahead and get started. Again, I want to talk today about engineering class, but how you can do it without being a field engineer. And to start with, the phrase engineering a solution. In my mind, again, these are all Luke Vandertie definitions, represent solving a problem using creativity and a technical skill set. This is certainly not limited to traditional engineering fields, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, but also new emerging areas like data scientist or data analytics. Whether this is Wall Street or NASA, people act as engineers to help solve problems. And the common thread through all these is the ability to solve problems, think creatively, break down a problem. Building a foundation of technical skills in particular opens up a world of opportunity, which hopefully you can get a sense of through the presentation today. And every organization, every industry, every business unit, every part of the company needs people with technical skills. So what you're working on in this course and other courses certainly will be relevant and applicable down the road. To give a quick background on myself, as Mr. Riley mentioned, I graduated class 2015 from Santa Fe with his son Vince. We're good friends, still stay in touch to the day, and did pretty much two main things that took up almost all of my time. One was varsity baseball, and the other was math club and math team. That's about it. You could sum up my high school career in those 2 bullet points. And while I was at Santa Fe, I spent a lot of time with Mr. Maxon in Mr. Maxon's room, working on not just building math skills, but also the problem solving skills, which is, can you take a problem and break it down? Can you find related problems and solve it? And that's similar to, like, hopefully what you're realizing you're doing in an engineering course. And those are the skills that really are going to transfer to college and then to the working world. Specifically, when I got to college, I went to University of Notre Dame out in Northern Indiana, graduated 2019 May, and I got a double major in business analytics as well as math and stats. So it's a similar theme to high school where, school, a lot of math. And then I was also heavily involved with the varsity baseball team in a variety of roles. I was bullpen catcher, student manager, and head of analytics. There was an article as well, which talks about what we did with the baseball analytics team that I'm happy to share if you're interested in more about that. But that's a little bit of background on me and what I did. And the themes of problem solving, thinking creatively, what I learned and really honed my skills at Santa Fe through my courses, through my extra work in the math club and math team with Mr. Maxon, it became a differentiator when I got to college. I went to Notre Dame with a lot of very smart kids, and we got into classes together, and teachers would say, all right, now go solve the problems. And kids would be asking, which formula should we use, which equation? And they'd say, I don't know, go figure it out, which is totally what the real world is like. And that ability to take a step back, think creatively, break a problem down into its parts, that became a real strong skill for me when I got to college. And it's proven more and more to be an important skill as you go forward into the real world of work. So with that, I'll move forward to professional background a little bit. After my freshman year of college, I came back to work at Santa Fe. I worked for Daryl back when he was in charge of the maintenance staff here. And while I was working at Santa Fe, I was also studying for the actuarial exams. And actuarial exams are certification tests for the quantitative people who work in the insurance sector primarily. And this was my first experience into you can bring STEM skills into maybe non-traditional STEM applications. So during my freshman year at Notre Dame, I took the Intro to Engineering course, and it's the, hey, program this robot to go around the room, make this boat float. And I took Intro to Chemistry and Biology, and man, science is not for me. Did not like the science area at all. And I realized I still like technical work, but it's about the applications of where you're taking it. And so, I wanted my type of work, the technical work, but I don't want to be applying it to physics, to mechanical engineering. I'd rather be applying it towards business or corporate applications. And so actuarial exams were the first real area of how can you take your technical skills in a business context. The next summer, I went to work at Under Armour as an intern, and their global headquarters in Baltimore, Maryland. I worked on their global operations team, and we looked at how do we do, reporting and analytics to forecast their supply chain performance and identify future problems, identify what we can do to fix things going forward. And that was my first experience of taking skills I learned at school, whether that was coding, whether that was different statistical techniques, and applying them in a corporate setting. They said, Luke, we need to figure out how to do stuff better. That was literally the project. And, so I said, okay, let me figure out what we're trying to talk about. Let me look at what tools I have in my toolbox from school. And then I built a solution to help them do that going forward. And then the next summer, after my junior year, I found my way to PricewaterhouseCoopers, traditionally known for their accounting practice, with a growing advisory consulting practice, especially technology consulting. And I'm on their data analytics team. And it was then that I started working out in San Jose in Silicon Valley area, which is where I am now. And on the data analytics team where I am full time now, our team takes a lot of those technical, mathematical, statistics techniques and programming certainly, and other tools, and we bring it to our clients to help them better use data to make information, to find information and make better decisions. There's a whole lot that I can go into. My degrees, different skills, different tools have played a role in what I do now, but that's a high level of where my career has gone through what you might call non-traditional applications of a STEM background. So quickly, trying to, again, leave a lot of time for questions and discussion here. I've never been called an engineer, but I've been doing engineering work for years now. I built technical skills in high school that helped reduce a steep learning curve in college. I in particular think back to, I took just a 2-week course on intro to programming. And that class helped me so much when I got to college, when some courses assumed you'd have a little bit of knowledge of coding. The intro course to coding, at least I had a little head start on others. That was just, coding sticks out to me as an example of having a head start when you get to college. Those technical skills can help a bunch. Similarly with math and stats and the entire mindset of problem solving, being able to think creatively when you're faced with problems in courses. And then now I'm, moving past college towards jobs and industries. Having a technical skill set is very desirable in any industry. You name an industry, I can talk about a role that that I probably looked at applying to. There's a role for technical skill sets of people. Banks on Wall Street, grocery store chains like Walmart, insurance companies, very, very different types of companies, but they all want people that can learn and use complex technical concepts. I can't emphasize enough the value of what you're learning now in engineering and in other courses at Santa Fe, that it will help you at school, and then it will help you afterwards into whatever type of job you want to get into. It just opens all kinds of doors for later on. So that's actually the end of my presentation. Super short, super quick. I don't have a world of experience like some other speakers you might have, but I wanted to leave a lot of time to put this to you all. What questions do you have? I want to help with wherever you're at, whether that's applying to schools, picking majors, thinking about jobs, figuring out what you want to do, whatever it may be. We had a great discussion in the last course, so I'm hopeful I can help answer some of your questions here today.
I have a question. So,
Yeah.
How come you're a Packers fan if you're from San Diego?
Yeah, my dad's from Wisconsin, so I was born and raised as a Packers fan, and now a part owner as well, as one of 400,000 shareholders. So I was born and raised in a green and yellow room.
I also had a question, not to bring it up, but how are you coping with the loss?
Yesterday was really bad. Yesterday was really bad. That's all I'll say on that topic. It's baseball season now.
Oh, that's so funny, Dante. It's fine. Chargers didn't even make the playoffs, bud.
I'm not a Chargers fan. Just not what?
What other questions can I help you guys with? Examples, anything of interest from the discussion? Feel free to just come off mute and ask.
Oh, what's certain projects that you worked on during your career?
Yeah, I can give a couple examples. One was while I was at Notre Dame, I was helping build their baseball analytics team at Notre Dame, and that was an interesting project because we were setting it up from scratch. The team had just invested in all sorts of technologies, just like the major league teams have, and so we have all this data sitting in Excel, and we didn't know what to do with it. And at the exact same time as I was taking classes for my majors, I had the opportunity to apply it, whether that was build dashboards to help our pitchers track their velocity over time, track how their pitches were moving, see how effective they were with different combinations. All of that stuff, I would learn. This happened multiple times, and it was the most clear. Everyone always asks, does what you learn in school actually apply in the real world? For technical fields, absolutely 100%. I would learn a technique, whether being or stats or something. And this happened multiple times in one semester. I would learn it one week, and literally the next week, I'd be working on a baseball analytics project, and I would use the exact same thing I just learned. And that was a really cool, just to like make it super clear that what I'm learning is what I'm doing in the real world. And now that I'm at PwC, I do a similar sort of thing all the time where, folks come to me and they say, Luke, we've got this information on these different companies, for example. We need to understand how they compare to each other, what are strengths and weaknesses. Can you run some analysis for us? And the comfort that I developed working with numbers in school makes it super easy to run calculations, formulas, statistics, whatever it may be, load it into data visualizations and share it with the users. So there's a variety of experiences like that.
I have another question. So your school record on the American Invitational Mathematics Examination, your score of 4 that you did on March 2015, do you still have that?
I feel like Paulo probably broke that record. I set a few records when I was in math club at Santa Fe, and then I made sure that people after me would break it. So I hope none of my records still stand. Let's put it that way.
Okay, thank you.
What else? Questions about college application process, picking classes. What can I help with? What's top of mind?
Why did you choose to go to Notre Dame over some of your other options?
Yeah, I mean, the simple answer is I got in. I applied to Ivy League schools, all the big name academic schools, I like to call them. And through the process, this is another good point, is there's a lot in the college application process you don't control. I like to think I had a pretty good application, and there's a lot out of your control. And thankfully, Notre Dame accepted me. And I had a couple other competing choices, and when I stepped on campus at Notre Dame, and one, it's an incredible campus, and thankfully I didn't visit in the dead of winter when it was 10 degrees. That might have hurt. And then talking to people and the opportunities for afterwards, the alumni base at Notre Dame was a huge factor in the career networking. Any company in the world that you could possibly want to work at is hiring Notre Dame kids. And especially, PwC has a huge program of hiring Notre Dame kids, and they even connected me with a Notre Dame person in the San Jose office on the other side of the country. And he has really helped transform my career through the Notre Dame connection. So great education, certainly. Great college experience with sports and a fun community on campus, but also the opportunities after school. They call it the 40-year decision. So that was a big factor for me in Notre Dame. What else? What else for the group?
I have another question. So it's very obvious that you're proficient in math, but what kind of role did your other classes take? Because I see that I don't know how much Spanish or another language you took, but on your LinkedIn profile it says you're only proficient in English. So how well-rounded should our grades and classes be?
Yeah, no, that's actually a great question. I took all the way through AP Spanish, passed that test, and I have not used it once since, which is unfortunate. Well, that's not true. I went to Costa Rica with some friends and used a little bit there, but it certainly could. I have a friend who studied Spanish at Notre Dame, and now she's looking to go be a Major League scout in the Dominican using her Spanish degree. And so there's that. There's also all of the courses have their own. I think math is the most important, but the other ones are sort of like English. The ability to articulate a point and be concise is something that I have to do. I actually do more of that in my current job than I do math and statistics. In the consulting world, I'm every day typing out, trying to explain, whether it's to internal PwC teams, whether it's to our clients, helping them to understand a point, a suggestion, a recommendation. It's all about how can I get my point across. And I don't think I fully realized that when I was in high school, that like English is actually going to be, my parents always told me, and I never really understood it until I got in the real world. But that, is one example of how other courses can support you. And that's, maybe more for like a job perspective, but for college itself, colleges look at all your classes evenly, despite what I might have hoped for looking at only math. But for colleges, certainly they're all important. But then, when you get to out of school and you're expected to bring a perspective and they want your thoughts, they want you to be able to think about everything more than just the number. It's, can I explain the numbers on the page? Can I put them in context of the business problem? Can I put them in context of the global setting? And then, okay, your history comes into play when you want to know what's going on in the world. They all play a role, certainly. They just play different degrees depending on where you're being asked to apply them.
Thank you.
What would you say your favorite project is that you've worked on so far?
I mean, at school, the baseball analytics, right, was awesome because I love baseball, obviously, and that was a really cool experience to be on the leading edge of things there. As far as after college, we're doing a pretty cool exercise on evaluating where PwC sits for data analytics and in a competitive landscape. So that's gathering data on the industry, gathering data on our competitors in particular, getting all the quantitative metrics and trying to figure out where we stand and where we should be investing going forward. But then also the qualitative side of what are some overarching trends in the industry that might not show up in numbers that we should be thinking about? What's the people impact on our organization of whatever decisions or recommendations we come up with? And it's a really interesting exercise we're going through where it's not just, hey, run the numbers on a spreadsheet, put them through your models and give me an output, but also consider, would it work? Do we have the people to support it? Would it work in the brand that PwC has? Would it work in the time it takes to do it? And that's sort of what I was talking about in the well-rounded. You have to be able to think in a broader context of not just number crunching for most roles. And that's where you can really become more valuable to companies, is that you bring a broader perspective, a broader skill set to the team. And that's a really interesting project. Maybe it's because it's top of mind right now, but that's an example of a project.
Do you work on that with like a team, or like you the guy they go to?
It's there is a team. Most of them are a little more senior, so they're managing a lot of stuff. So I do a lot of the technical grunt work, but it is certainly collaborative in that they come to me with a problem and their initial thinking, and they say, Luke, you should think about these 6 different things. I go run the numbers. I come back with an answer, but I also come back with recommendations of, hey, John, my boss, here's what I found. Here's what I think it means. Here's what I think we should do. And here's our considerations. And then he gets together with a group, and we all get together and talk about what we found, what we see, where we go forward from there. Very much collaborative setting.
I gotcha.
What else is top of mind? And again, this doesn't have to be just related to the presentation I gave. Picking schools, picking majors, whatever it may be.
Luke, you talked a little bit about picking Notre Dame. In the earlier class, you shared on some of the examples of things you got to do that because Notre Dame makes certain things available to their students, and probably any college, but Notre Dame, I think, has a lot of extra context. Could you share some of those examples?
Yeah. So while I was at, I mentioned that Notre Dame has a big alumni network, and they emphasize the opportunities after school. And that's the Career Center is the department on every college that's aiming to do this. Notre Dame, thankfully for me, has one of the best in the country at it. And they try and connect current students with potential jobs and employers and experiences. And it's not just a one-way students trying to sell themselves to companies. It's companies are trying to sell themselves to you all, but they want you to think that their company is the one to go be at. And so one example of this was Notre Dame organized a sports trek over one long weekend in October, where a dozen of us Notre Dame students went up to Chicago. We met with the White Sox, the Chicago Bulls, some marketing agencies, Wilson, the manufacturer, and they were pitching to us really of like why our companies would be a great place for you. Our organizations are a great place for you to apply to and think about hiring. Thing that Notre Dame has a global network of alumni in every company you can imagine that we can get those connections. But when you're on campus, those opportunities show up in a variety of places, whether that's case studies when companies would come to class and spend one day walking you through a case study and you trying to solve it, whether that's shadowing experiences where you can go follow full-time employees for a week or whatever. Internships obviously exist where you can test out companies, and all of those experiences are something that I can't recommend enough for when you get to college. Career Center, certainly one place to look, and probably the main place to look for those opportunities, but also in your departments themselves, whether that's the business school or the math school, to find those opportunities to engage with companies and get more real world applications. What else from the group?
So we've got a few more minutes if you have questions or have areas there to take advantage of Luke being here and on the call. A little bit of a unique perspective there, having sat probably in some of the same seats many of you sit in class.
I have one more question.
Take advantage. Oh, go ahead, Thomas.
Is your dog Shadow still alive?
He is. I didn't know if the Vandertie name, obviously my sister graduated 2 years after me. I didn't know if the Vandertie name still anyone knew about it, but yeah. He's
good to hear.
He's slowing down, but he's there.
We tease Thomas. He is quite the researcher on LinkedIn and other things with our speakers. But as you've mentioned, Luke, the fact that networking is such a big thing, especially when you start looking for internships or you look for jobs, it is something I encourage all of you to consider. I have to admit, in my entire career, I think every single job I got was because of a network I knew. It wasn't filling out an app on a piece of paper. Even my high school job of cooking pizzas and hoagies in a pizzeria was because I knew somebody already there, not because my application.
Absolutely. I'll even double down on that. And the importance of just going to meet people. Everyone thinks that networking is this unbearable thing, which it is if you're doing it wrong. That's if you're just going to talk to as many people as possible at these random events. But networking in my mind is getting to know about jobs, getting to know people. In college, this played out with career fairs, and it's early on, I want to go learn about a company. I walk up and I say, here's who I am, here's my major. I don't know much, just talk to me, teach me something. And they appreciate that. And now I'm in the same spot where I'm helping other kids in college and high school understand what I do. And then through that, you get to meet people and they're in your court for the application process. And I threw out my professional background. Going to work after I finished freshman year of college, I had no idea what I was doing that summer. I met up for lunch with Daryl to catch up, the former head of maintenance work. He goes, Luke, come work for me, make some money this summer. It'll be great. Done. Next summer, I applied to Under Armour their global internship program. My one of my friends from school, his dad worked at Under Armour. He connected me with the right person so I could chat and get to know more. And it's not that they gave me a fast track or anything, but it's through networking, I learned more about Under Armour. I learned more about the team I'd be applying to. And with that better information, that helped my application a lot. PwC, my interviewer was a dad of an incoming baseball player. So he and I could connect on a deeper level of knowing the stories, knowing where I'm coming from. And I met all sorts of, I spent a lot of time networking with PwC and understanding the company, understanding the culture, understanding the type of job I'm applying to. That research truly does pay off. In a big, it didn't, it wasn't obvious to me at first, but it is now. And now, networking continues even afterwards. It's hysterical. My first week on the job, or during the internship at PwC, I met some folks through calls, information interviews, and I came back full time. They remembered my name. They wanted to put me on projects. They wanted to pull me in these cool opportunities. One guy, this hysterical director, he's like, dude, we're having a Halloween party next week. You're coming. And there's like 6 people that just happened to be in town. I didn't know any of them except for this guy, this director. We're just hanging out, having a good time. And and I didn't know anyone. And we all met that day, had a good time. Over the next 6 months, every single person that I met at that event, I've worked with, and they've said, Luke can help with this. Luke can help with this project. He's good. They have no reason to think that I'm good other than we met at a Halloween party. And so like networking and getting to know people, it pays off. It definitely pays off.
I can agree with that. Like, if you're like trying to get like a job interview or anything, and you know people, like an inside thing. Like, I worked at Vaughn's over the summer, and there's hundreds of applicants and stuff. And if you like know people, like my dad like knows the owner and stuff, then and you have like good relations with them, then you have pretty a shot.
And yeah, absolutely. And it's not that you have to have. That's certainly. Coming from the Santa Fe community, there's a ton of connections you can make, or that you already have, whether it's family members, etc. But when you have one, now there's the Santa Fe community, or if you're a Santa Fe alum, you can reach out to any other Santa Fe alum, even if it's like cold call and you get their email through someone else. And there's that connection that you can use just to learn more, and that sets you up well. And similar when you get to college, anyone that has Notre Dame associated with their name, I can send a message, set up time, and we could talk. And that, it's not just, hey, I knew someone through a family friend. It could be, I created this relationship to learn more, and then it paid off with me having a better shot at the application. What else from the group can I help with? And again, if questions come later on, I'm happy to chat further with anyone. Mr. Riley has my info.
No additional questions? Looking around, okay. Then we can let Luke go ahead and get back to his day. I'm sure it's a busy one. But thank you very much. I look forward to catching up a little bit later here how things are going. But we'll let you get back and grab some lunch and get back to your busy schedule.
Absolutely. Thanks for letting me come and talk. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.